Multiple healthcare organizations gathered at the Paragon Casino in Marksville for an opioid symposium discussing the latest information about the opioid crisis in central Louisiana.
Yeah, Alex Ornchuk has the details.
Sponsored by the Tunica Biloxi Tribe, the Louisiana Department of Health, Sleeze Up Avoyles, and the Hope Center, speakers at Tuesday's opioid symposium shared how their organizations are battling the sometimes deadly drugs.
We've had huge increases in death rates all across the United States, all across Louisiana, and even here in Avoyles Parish. So this is a problem for everybody, and it's a problem that everyone needs to help solve.
One focus of the symposium was the preventative measures being taken to warn people about the dangers of opioids, especially as dangerous synthetic opioids like fentanyl are increasingly being found in other drugs and counterfeit prescription painkillers.
The problem now is that addicts and people with chronic opioid dependence are getting a hold of street drugs and street drugs coming across the border, which are now highly tainted with fentanyl.
Other measures like fentanyl test strips and safe injection equipment and the life-saving drug Narcan, which reverses the effects of opioids during an overdose, are also being utilized as a way to help curb the deadly overdoses. Last year in Avoyles Parish, 22 people died from opioid-related overdoses, with 19 of those involving fentanyl. This year to date, only one person has fatally overdosed from fentanyl. Dr. Bordelon pointed to the preventative measures and education as part of the decrease in cases seen in the parish.
It's a tremendous importance at the local level because it helps increase awareness at the local level so that we can intervene from a medical standpoint, public service standpoint, to help try to drop these levels, which are exponentially rising over the last 3 to 4 years.
In Marksville, Alex Ornchuk, News Channel 5, your local station.